Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is the 26th film in the MCU, and this film was directed by Daniel Cretton, and this film stars Samuel Liu as Shang-Chi, Awkwafina as Katie, Tony Liu as Wenwu, and Michelle Yeoh. And Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings is a film that's introducing Phase 4, the second film of Phase 4, the first being Black Widow, which I can arguably say that Black Widow is more of a Phase 3 movie because that movie takes place during Civil War, and this movie takes place specifically after Endgame. And Shang-Chi, the master of unarmed weaponry-based kung fu, is forced to confront his past after being drawn into the Ten Rings organization. Before I got into the theater, I was a little skeptical. I had an ache in the pinion stomach. And judging from the trailers that they were giving me, I thought we was going to get a martial arts origin story of Shang-Chi. And we got that, but I was looking for to see if the film was going to follow some similar formulaic traits that you see in everyday superhero origin films. That's what I was looking for. And I let you guys know that the film didn't have none of those traits. So after leaving the movie theater, I had to ask myself, did I like this movie more than I expected? Because I had to figure out where this film was going to rank among the best. And it was frustrating me and irritating me. I had to watch it again. And then I realized after my second watch that Shang-Chi is a definitive treat. But I felt Shang-Chi broke new ground. But not too much in the way of being too flashy and not too much of staying too grounded. Maybe that has to do with the style or the implications of the action sequences. This film broke new ground on so many fronts. It's unreal. And one thing I want to talk about is the performance from Samuel Liu as Shang-Chi. He definitely delivered it. And also, since this is the first time of us seeing Shang-Chi, I was looking for how well they're going to develop their character. And they did a fantastic job of developing the character of Shang-Chi. As for Shang-Chi, he is known as Shawn in the beginning of the film. And as the character, he is a guy who is known to run away from his past. That some could argue he is running away from his destiny, but he is not scared to go back to his past. He just doesn't like to be reminded of the place where it could possibly direct him in a dark path. I gotta say that certain aspects to his character definitely worked for this movie, and to the point where I understood his motivations. I understood his convictions, and by that 30-minute mark, the audience will be understanding the main character's motivations and convictions. And they took responsibility to develop his character in the first 30 minutes of the film, because usually most MCU films don't do that. And another thing I want to talk about is Awkwafina's performance. I thought Awkwafina would be a little bit irritating going in, but actually she was a good character. She wasn't too irritating. She was just right. The humor of her character, well, it sort of worked. There are some, in ways it worked, in ways it didn't. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but for her character arc worked. And I did love, I'm talking about, love is a strong word, but yeah, I absolutely love the chemistry between Samuel Liu and Awkwafina. Their characters had great banter. You actually bought their friendship. They've been friends for over 10 years, they say in the movie, but you actually buy it. And I almost feel like they're so great on screen together that I feel like they could be best friends in real life. Like, the closest friends of all. Because the chemistry is probably one of the best on-screen symbol of a dynamic duo I have seen in the MCU period in a long time, especially when it comes to the dynamic chemistry between her and the relationship between another character that, well, I cannot wait to talk about a little bit later. And as for Katie, the character Katie, she was actually a good supporting character for Shang-Chi. And also, there was one specific scene in this movie where both of these characters, Katie and Shang-Chi, who's referred to as Shawn, is talking to this couple. They criticize Katie and Shang about, how you need to take life seriously. You're having too much fun. You're not doing the important things in life. And I feel like that part right there is one of the aspects to Shang-Li as the result of him having fun throughout this movie that goes back full circle to the main villain of this movie. Connection! And like I said before with Shang-Chi is a character who ran away from his past, but that some people could arguably say that he's running away from his destiny. And that comes back full circle to the Wenwu. The Wenwu is a prime leader of the organization, the Ten Rings, the same organization that kidnapped Tony Stark in the first Iron Man movie. But in this film, how they're presented is completely different from the comics, because in this movie, the Ten Rings are like bracelets, pretty much. And in the comics, each individual ring gives you one individual power that grants its user. So that's completely different. But from what I saw in this movie, in the flashback scenes developing the Ten Rings, it actually makes sense from a writing standpoint. And I did like the fact that they left a little bit of ambiguity on the Ten Rings as well. And Wenwu was a great villain. He was probably one of the best villains I consider in the top 5 best villains in the MCU. And seeing Wenwu getting fleshed out to someone who is interesting in the third act, oh man, I was just at awe just to see how well the film did a great job of developing his character, and also the performance from Tony Liu Yang. He was top notch as well as Wenwu. The dynamic relationship between father and son was amazing in this movie. It's different from the comic books because Shang-Chi is not related to the Mandarin, and he's not really associated with the Ten Rings in the comic books. But for this movie, it's completely different, and it makes sense that yes, Shang-Chi, he is the son of the Mandarin Wenwu, and there is some parts to his character arc that comes back full circle again. Oh man. And then he breaks down his character even more when it comes to the Ten Rings. I don't want to go in full details on that, but it fully fleshes out both character relationships. You get this dynamic approach of the relationship and flashback scene between father and son. You get to see the deterioration of the relationship of how Shang-Chi became to be in the present day in the beginning of the movie. And the most important thing I had to talk about is the action sequences. The action sequences was absolutely stunning and amazing. The action sequences were chaotic and beautiful, and it's like the fight sequences revolved around Shang-Chi. It's like he had the brutality of Bruce Lee with the finesse of Jackie Chan. When you watch the fight scenes, you're going to be at awe. You're going to be blown away from the action sequences. And the camera is not up in your face. There is not shaky cam. What this film does, the director, he decided to do something clever. He decided to shoot the action sequences from zoomed out, wide, clear, wide shots. I'm not talking about wide shots from like close range where you can see the fight, but not much. I'm talking about a wide shot from a distance. So you get to see the fights full. You can see the full choreography, and you get to see the punch where each punch lands. That was the part that I feel like it broke new ground when it came to the action sequences, like the ferocity, how ferocious the fights, how fast and ferocious the fights are, and each punch coming to at lightning fast speed. And then another thing about this movie was how well this movie was directed. The cinematography was just amazing, especially watching the fight sequences and then watching the action sequences and then watching cinematography as the backdrop. It's almost like the cinematography is having sex with your eyes on screen. It is absolutely stunning and magnificent. And Bill Pope was also the cinematography for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. So I gotta be like, all right, there's so many orgasmic, nerdgasm juice that's happening right now. It's unreal. And during the midst of the action sequences, you're going to get some heartfelt moments. But I'm talking about some real heartfelt moments that stays, that resonates, that the film takes time to let sit, so you can think about it and ponder on it for a little bit. If they didn't like remove it, like take it away and replace it with a joke, they actually did a good job on the heartfelt moments. And this film had a lot of eccentric, relatable family issues in this film. So I could arguably say this is like a family film that's relatable to families. The world building, they did a wonderful job on this world building. And then yes, there are 2 end credit scenes in this movie, and it gets me excited for the next movie. Now, as for Black Widow, the only reason why I like that movie is because of the end credit scenes. I only wanted to see that movie because of the end credit scenes. With this movie, I was just blown away from start to finish, and the end credit scenes was just the icing on the cake. Yes, this movie is not perfect. It has like a small little nitpick, and that is the jokes don't land. But the film does a better job of handling the jokes than other MCU films. Like, yes, the jokes don't work in this movie, but none of the jokes were cringe. That means a lot. That means a lot to me. There's one joke in the end where I thought could be cringe, but the delivery was just right, where I actually accepted it. You know, it's not a cringe. It's actually a good joke. Shang-Chi is a superhero film that broke new ground. It had a style on its own. And also did a wonderful job of representation at that. So I'm like, okay. And then got the world building, character moments, great development, great action sequences, great direction, and great cinematography. This movie is close to perfect in my eyes. I have to give Shang-Chi a Legend out of 10 rings. A Christian Bale Batman. I will buy this movie on Blu-ray, and this is ranked among the best MCU films. That's my review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of 10 Rings. Have you seen that movie? What are your thoughts? Comment below and let's talk about it. And I'll see you guys in my next review. So if you like everything you see and you agree, click right here. Join me in the Batman family. I have more Batman-tastic reviews in the way. You have been warned. Till then, ciao.